Good to go.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the October 28th meeting of the Ulster County Transportation Council Technical Committee. Call to order. We'll do welcome and introductions for those people in the room. I'm Dennis Doyle, Planning Director, also the Director of the Transportation Council.
Chris Seeger, Senior Transportation Planner, UCTC.
Sandra Jobson, New York State Department of Transportation.
Brian Slack, Ulster County Transportation Council.
Mike Biden.
Mike Baden, Village of New Paltz.
Herb Litz, Ulster County Legislature.
On the call. Online. Why don't you call them out, Chris?
Gardner Town Supervisor, James Quigley, Leanne Thornton, Alexandra Fairley, Amanda La Rosa, Gautam Mani, Kate Phillips, and Laura Pettit.
Thank you, everybody. Call for citizens' comments. Any citizens' comments in the room? Any citizens' comments from anyone online? Hearing none. Approval of the August 26, 2025 Technical Committee meeting summary. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
That sounds like Supervisor Quigley. Is that who it was?
Very accurate.
Thank you, Supervisor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Oh,
Justin.
Mary Beth?
yeah, I was one of them.
Okay. Got the call, Mary Beth. I have a motion and a second for approval. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, so carried. Thank you very much. Approval. Oh, sorry, communications and announcements. Thank you, Brian.
Sure. On October 23rd, that's last Thursday, the Office of the County Executive issued a press release announcing the final draft of the route optimization plan will be presented on November 6th. That will be presented by Ulster County Transportation Council and our consultants, Foursquare ITP. That meeting is scheduled to take place between 3 p.m. and roughly 7:30 or 8 p.m. We're going to begin by opening doors at 3 and allowing members of the public to just drop in if they'd like to ask questions or look at some of our routes and schedules for the new proposed UCAT systems. And then we'll get formal presentations at 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. And the presentation will be the same. That meeting is being held at the Kirkland, which is Rupco offices on Main Street and Clinton in the city of Kingston. And it's also folks are welcome and able to attend online through Zoom either session, and the sessions will be recorded with an opportunity for comment on those routes through the month of November. So we're looking forward to presenting an overview of the project, everything we've accomplished, what we set out to accomplish, and what our new proposed routes and schedules will look like for the UCAT system. And then talk about next steps for implementation of the route optimization plan.
In the date again, Brian.
That will be next Thursday, November 6th. If you choose to attend online, you do need to register through Zoom. Otherwise, you can just show up if you're coming in person. So we'll be rolling out more press releases, and there'll be flyers in all the UCAT buses, social media updates, and it's already been picked up by the Daily Freeman as well.
Okay.
Brian,
Yes.
will the new UCAT system reauthorize the loop bus in New Paltz?
Not exactly. That's a yes and a no.
Okay.
So the
You
reason,
must be a politician.
you're right. So the traditional UCAT loop was a standalone designated loop bus through the village of New Paltz. That went by the college, then out to shopping destinations closer to the thruway. That was discontinued, I think, at some point in middle of 2025 due to low ridership was the reasoning and lack of drivers. So the new routes, there are 3 distinct fixed routes that either begin or terminate in the village of New Paltz under the proposed system. Each of those routes will run a loop through the village. when it arrives.
So
or
it'll still
departs.
go to the college.
So,
Yeah.
so two of those routes, as we currently have them devised, do a loop around Village proper and around the college, and another loop does go out to Tops. That's already identified as potentially an area for further improvement, is seeing if we can do an even further loop, so each route will at least get out to Tops and back, but there will be loop service, through, to answer your question.
Mhm.
That will create effectively better loop service than previously existed.
Yeah, before it was just one loop, now at least you'll have an opportunity, you know, in
Yeah, we're-
between what used to be.
We're working on all the schedules to make sure if you get someplace, you can get back without a great deal of delay.
Okay, good,
That's what they're working on right
Good.
now. They're taking a quick look at.
thank you.
Okay, anything else on that?
No, and that was my only announcement that I had, or I guess, under old business, what I don't have on the agenda today is an update regarding the, TMA certification review.
Thank you, Brian.
I know that Gotham is on the call. Gotham, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but do you want to provide, the MPO members with a brief update on the certification process?
Yes, thanks, Brian. And yeah, you're not putting them in the spot. Happy to talk just a little bit about it. Yeah, so we did have the on-site portion of the review. As stated previously, the certification review consists of a desk review where we review the MPO's planning products, and written planning products specifically. And then we have a site visit with the MPO staff, and obviously the members were invited as well, to discuss, to have a conversation about the state of the planning process, and then we issue a report with our findings, recommendations for improvements, and accommodations that recognize good practices. And so we did have the site visit. We met with all three MPOs, and all three MPOs that form the Mid Hudson Valley TMA, and then we also met with Ulster County, Brian, Chris, and Dennis, and had pretty extensive discussion about the specific planning products and issues in affecting Ulster County's transportation network. So we concluded that process in early October, and just yesterday we did do a little bit of a debrief with the MPOs, just sharing some of our preliminary findings. So I'll just highlight a couple of things that I think will be coming. Just recognizing a lot of good work that the MPO is doing here. The long range plan that was just adopted last month, I think, is exemplary and represents huge progress from previous iterations of the plan. And in particular, we're going to be recognizing the LRTP financial plan. So that's something that we're exploring accommodation for, and so expect that to be recognized in some way in the final report. And other good practices, just the level of attention to tourism and the impact it has on Ulster County, as part of the transportation planning process is pretty remarkable, and it's something that often gets overlooked. A lot of the work that you've done in the area of safety and active transportation will be recognized in the report as well. In terms of recommendations that are specific to Ulster County, we will be recommending potential improvements to the public participation plan. The MPO has undertaken a lot of good practices regarding public involvement with specific planning products, but so incorporating some of those practices into the overall public participation plan would be quite helpful, we think. So it expects recommendation on that in the report, and then looking for further opportunities to coordinate with the other MPOs within the TMA. So that's just a short overview of some of the biggest highlights, but really just thank you to Dennis, Brian, and Chris, and the staff of the other MPOs for all of their work as part of this process. We couldn't do it without the MPO staff, and I hope they found it to be a productive process. We certainly have, and look forward to further conversations. So thanks.
Thank you, Gotham. Any questions from any of the council members to Gotham? Okay, hearing none. Any other communications and announcements, Brian?
No,
Okay, we'll move on to item 5 on the agenda, new business, draft resolution 2515-13, support for the New York State Department of Transportation, NISDOT, targets for safety performance measures. Brian?
sure, draft resolution 2025-13 addresses the NPO's performance management requirements specific to the safety targets. I think everyone should be pretty familiar with this target because we do update it annually. Unlike some of the other targets, this is required to be updated every year. So the resolution is updating New York State DOT targets set for 2026. The process is laid out in a brief summary sheet that's provided to us by the New York State DOT Office of Traffic Safety. The targets specifically that this resolution deals with are the number of fatalities. These are statewide statistics, by the way. Number of fatalities, then the rate of fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. Number of serious injuries, serious injury rate for 100 million vehicle miles traveled, and then the number of non-motorized fatalities and non-motorized serious injuries as well. So those are 5 metrics that are included and measured in this resolution. The process begins with the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee, and they report the targets in the Strategic Highway Safety Plan. And then New York State DOT establishes those targets through the Highway Safety Improvement Program annual report. And it has to be done by August 31st, 2025. And then MPOs after the DOT establishes those targets, we have 180 days to set either our own targets or recognize NISDOT targets. To date, all MPOs statewide have always recognized NISDOT targets, and as far as I'm aware, have not set their own targets. And that's what this resolution does. As with last year, we're recognizing New York State DOT targets in performance measures as shown in attachment 1. And these set a realistic 1.5 reduction goal for 2026 with annual reduction benchmarks of 0.5% by 24 and 1% by 25. All in all, pretty standard approach.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'll have a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Baden. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mary Beth, thank you. Supervisor, much appreciated. I have a motion and second. Any additional discussion?
Dennis, it wasn't me. It was.
That was Leanne.
Oh, I'm
Leanne.
sorry, Leanne. I apologize.
That's all right. Thought there might be a delay in the transmission.
There you go. I apologize, man. So I have a motion and second. No additional discussion? Hearing none. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So carried. Thank you very much. Item B. Statewide traffic safety resource update.
Yeah, this is me.
Thanks, Brian.
As Chris, are you able to get the PowerPoint presentation up? And I apologize to folks in the room. We didn't realize there wouldn't be a projector today, so I hope people can see my slides there. And I'll be, or,
I can see.
okay, the slides are actually pretty brief. And I'll be sure to save these and share them with the group. But we had a light agenda today, so I thought it would be appropriate to spend some time to talk about safety initiatives by the UCTC and New York State DOT and try to shed some light on some topics and processes that have been coming up quite a bit recently. So this is by no means intended to be a comprehensive overview of safety analysis. I think we could probably spend a 3 or 4 day workshop specifically on the topic of conducting crash analyses and safety assessments and the process the DOT uses, which is a very detailed one on this subject alone. So I'm just going to spend about 10 to 15 minutes to provide a broad overview of some of the work that the NPO has done recently and some of the things that DOT has in place. And hopefully it will begin to answer some questions for our members regarding safety on our highways. So why do we do safety work? Well, I would hope it's pretty clear at this point, but when you look at the authorizing legislation that is in US code. Right under the metropolitan planning program, the very first sentence, it says that MPOs will promote have a process that promotes the safe and efficient development, management, and operation of surface transportation systems. Safety is integral to everything that the UCTC does, and I would probably argue that most MPOs operate in the same way. Specifically, in every iteration of the long-range transportation plan, safety is usually the number one goal, specifically stated. It's stated in our vision statement, and it's stated as a performance metric throughout the long-range transportation plan. Every UCTC project that we do, whether it's discrete planning study or data acquisition analysis, it always is rooted in some way, shape, or form in safety. Even our wayfinding studies that we've done in the past that, you know, look at signage and branding for municipalities, I think I can argue that wayfinding even has a safety component, so people know and know where they're going and feel safe and comfortable while navigating through those locations. If you go to the UCTC website, and now we have all of our projects are organized by subject area. Under safety, we have we have exactly 20 projects that have a specific focus on safety, going back the 2 decades that this MPO has been operating. And I'm going to talk about some of those projects right now. Most recently, I think our deepest dive into safety, there are 2 specific projects I'd like to call out. In 2018, we finished what we call the road safety assessment. And this project, we decided that we would take a look at state identified priority incident locations. These are locations identified by New York State DOT on the Ulster County system, state roads that had crashes at a high rate. And we worked with municipalities that had some of those pills, and we worked very closely with DOT to identify 3 specific road segments that we felt warranted a detailed analysis using the process known as the road safety audit. Those locations were Route 299 in New Paltz and Gardner, routes 32 and 212 in Saugerties and Woodstock. Actually, I think that's route 32 and 212 just in Saugerties, I apologize. And then route 212 in Woodstock out near Rock City Road. And that process was detailed in this report, but it included not only a data assessment, looking at volumes and crash rates and the crash types and doing crash diagrams of all the crashes that were occurring over a period of time, but also included a site visit to each location with a range of professionals that include not only DOT engineers, but highway department officials, as well as first responders from each municipality that had a lot of experience with the conditions on those specific road segments and responding to crashes, and the individuals who were performing the maintenance work on those segments. So it brought a lot of information and expertise, and we developed detailed low-cost recommendations and then medium range recommendations for each of those segments. We learned quite a bit about those road segments. For example, in New Paltz on 299, as I recall, the most frequent crash type was due to animals on the highway, which came as a bit of a surprise. We were really expecting some other factors to be occurring here, but it was really leaving the road and animal collisions in that segment. Also, when we did the Route 32 Saugerties analysis, some of the analysis and data acquisition work helped us to determine that the signal at the intersection of the New York State Thruway exit and 32 required some changes. And we were able to use our assessments and the knowledge gathered during that process to work with DOT to do an upgrade of that signal. So that was, I think, a major success there. After we completed that study, we realized that rather than chase priority incident locations around, we thought it would be really valuable to do a deep dive into crash statistics countywide, so we can get a better sense of where crashes are occurring at rates above the norm. And that's why we did the road safety plan. This was another consultant-based process where we did a 10-year crash history analysis of all crashes on Ulster County roads, regardless of jurisdiction of the highway. And those crashes are then normalized by the traffic volume occurring on roadways, the type of crashes that are occurring, and the crash severity, to give us a really strong sense of where crashes again are occurring above the norm that we would expect them to be occurring. When we look at crashes, in the past, we would just assess crashes, put together a table that this is the number of crashes occurring. We could arrange them by municipality. At the end of the day, it really wasn't telling us very much in terms of being able to respond in a comprehensive manner. The network screening process, doing a systemic crash analysis, really allows us to begin to rate and rank those locations that require the most amount of attention by the jurisdiction who's responsible for maintenance. At this point in time, that study was completed in 2021. We began it in 2019, completed in 2021.
One of the first in the state, as I recall.
It was one of the first in the state. And unfortunately, fortunately, due to that reason, we at UCTC were ahead of the curve for systemic crash analyses. And shortly after that plan was completed, the IIJA was passed, which included the Safe Streets for All program, which then set new standards for how to do a road safety analysis and network screen and systemic analysis. And our plan actually checked most of those boxes, but there are a few critical components that were left out, including the policy component, looking at local laws, setting local policies for Vision Zero approaches were just one example. Rating and ranking not only at the county-wide level, but at individual municipalities should have their crashes rated and ranked as well. So we suddenly found ourselves a little bit behind schedule, and our plan did not fully meet Safe Streets for All compliance. Therefore, the projects identified were not necessarily eligible for Safe Streets for All implementation funds, construction funds. So we are now in the process. We submitted our second application for a countywide Safe Streets for All plan. That's an application for 100% grant funded through the Federal Highway Administration to conduct an update to that project. We really wanted the update to be completed by now and be done every 5 years. But unfortunately, because we decided to go all in on the Safe Streets for All program, and because we were not awarded during the previous 2024 round, we're now a little bit behind schedule. But I've instructed Chris to start to begin investigating scopes of work. The announcement should be made for the Safe Streets for All 2025 awards within the next few weeks, I would hope. Whether we're on that list of awardees or not, we're going to be prepared to move forward with our update of the road safety plan beginning in 2026. So that's something to look forward to.
But I would say that there was success in the road safety plan that we did 2021. We achieved some improvements to certain intersections, most particularly a light in the town of Gardner, in cooperation with NISDOT at one of the recognized areas. I think it was the #1 recognized area in the study that basically said that we needed that light.
That's right. And we're really grateful to New York State DOT working with us as a partner to identify the resources to construct that signal in rather quick fashion. It's always been an important guidance document for UCTC staff when we receive inquiries from the public regarding perceived safety concerns on our roadways. The first place we consult typically is this document. Even though it's a little long in the tooth in terms of the data at this point, well, we have 6 years of crash data that have occurred since it was published. It's still very useful and as sort of a first flush, if you will, to see if there's a concern. Well, did it rank in the top 50 of Ulster County roadway intersections or segments? And then if it didn't, we can still do further analysis. I want to talk about briefly, and I just have a couple more slides, about how New York State DOT goes through the process of assessing crashes. It's something that they call the hotspot approach, and this again is done by central office. New York State DOT conducts annual screenings of crashes on its system, again, on an annual basis. They're only looking at the state system, but they're assessing all of the crashes that are occurring. And then they identify what I already mentioned as priority investigation locations, PILs. Then also safety deficient locations, SDLs, which used to be called HALs, I think, and they changed the definition of those locations. Those locations are then provided to the regions to assess and to conduct further analysis and deploy resources as needed. Something that we found, and Sandra, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but it's always been, I think, a reasonable conclusion that because Region 8 is so diverse, that we have the very rural counties of Columbia and Dutchess and Ulster, juxtaposed with the highly metropolitan counties of Westchester and Rockland. That's where the volume is in the southern portion of the region. And so naturally, I think a lot of the resources do get targeted to the southern portion of the region. So it's not to say that DOT isn't doing work in Ulster County, because certainly they are.
Well,
But I think a lot of when you prioritize things.
well, we actually, I'm glad you're bringing this up, because, back in our office to help us, select projects, we have, 4 asset teams: pavement, bridges, safety, and sustainability. Safety is also a number 1 at New York State DOT, so there's a lot of consistency there. And the charge for that particular group is very much using the data. It's what a team that definitely has data that it can pull from. And so not only are they trying to identify, right, what's going on, how things could be maybe improved, but they're also charged with making sure that the distribution and identification of safety improvement projects is region-wide.
Right.
So, and we do that with our pavement program also. So there is a conscious effort both back in the office to not disregard, Columbia County is also part of Region 8. We really put a concerted effort into making sure that the funds and the issues are addressed equitably, I guess you could almost say, because otherwise we could use all of our capital funds in Westchester County alone.
Of course.
Easily.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the transportation improvement program process that we all just went through proves that point, because we've seen some pretty significant investments from New York State DOT on their state system in Ulster County, in Kingston, and in Shawangunk are 2 projects in particular, but there are others as well. So that is New York State DOT's overarching process.
Can I ask a question, Brian?
Sure.
The HSIP on that slide stands for?
Highway Safety Improvement Program.
Thank you.
So we've been receiving, I don't think an abnormal, but number of complaints or concerns, but we do receive a consistent number of concerns from our municipalities requesting safety analyses on local or state roadways within their jurisdiction. We've recently seen in New Paltz and also in Rosendale that when there are concerns about safety, they want to see a crash study. That's typically the term that's thrown out there, but that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What's a crash study? So the UCTC, sometimes we receive just constituent concerns and complaints, particularly through the Traffic Safety Board. So I just wanted to lay out that there is an objective process to begin to hunt these issues down. The first thing that we do at the MPO is look at the problem and look at the data. And there's some tools I'm going to show you that we have, and that actually all of us have at our disposal to begin to get a sense of what is occurring out at this location. Are there crashes occurring, first of all? Is there a crash history? Very often I've received concerns about unsafe conditions, and then when you look at the crash history, there isn't necessarily a crash history in these locations. The next step is then to coordinate with the jurisdictional owner of the road and do a site visit or an investigation using their staff to say, okay, is there something that can be done out here to make it safer? Is there gravel that can be removed, paint that can be added, vegetation, that sort of thing? But we always look at the data to identify the problem. And that's something that UCTC excels in. And I think we're very useful at doing that data analysis. It also relates back to our count program that Chris is in charge of, so that we do have a sense of volumes on our roadways. If we do seem to determine that there does seem to be an issue, a safety issue through an objective analysis, then there's a process to look at countermeasures that can possibly be considered. And it doesn't necessarily mean installing the traffic signal as the first reaction to a concern, which is very often one of the concerns. That's one of the requests that we often get. This location needs a signal, but a signal is often the last measure that I think we would use. First, we have to do a determination to see what's occurring in the location and see what type of countermeasures might be employed before something as drastic as a signal is implemented. And then you need to prioritize projects, and that comes down to the issue of resource allocation that we just talked about, and return on investment. Implement the design solution that can take several years, as we know, and then evaluate that solution. And right now, for example, on the Broadway corridor, where we identified serious concerns that all the signalized intersections had crash rates above the norm, we identified some countermeasures that could be used. The city went and identified the resources and implemented the project, and we're now in an evaluation stage. And I hope to be able to conduct more detailed evaluation after we now have close to 5 years of data since those solutions were installed.
Which is, just to build on that briefly, you do want at least 3 years worth of data in order to actually evaluate and not it just be noise. So
Right.
it does take a few years, unfortunately, but.
And the other problem that we find ourselves in that we're now coming out of is that those first 3 years were during COVID.
Yeah.
Which I think everyone should know were a major anomaly in terms of crash statistics nationwide. So some of the tools that we use, and these are readily available to municipalities, your highway superintendents, your engineers, can access these tools today. New York State DOT has put together a really good compendium called the Crash Analysis Toolbox, and the website is shown on the slide. The primary component, the crown jewel, if you will, is the CLEAR system, the Crash Location and Engineering Analysis Repository. This is an online mapping and assessment tool that we use on a regular basis to access historic crash location, crash data by location. And I'll give you a quick screenshot of what that looks like in just a moment. Municipalities can always submit a Freedom of Information request, which will either go to the DOT central office. Central office might actually kick it back to the UCTC if it's a local issue, and will conduct the analysis if it's reasonable. Usually you don't have to do go to that extent to do the Freedom of Information law request. Just a simple email to Chris or me, we can conduct an analysis. Again, if it's reasonable, we've gotten requests to do countywide crash, detailed countywide crash statistics, including the MV 104 detailed reports, countywide for like 5 years or 10 years. We're not going to be able to produce that kind of information to anyone, nor would it be very useful, I think, to anyone Because it's just too much information to process. And that's one of the reasons why we do our systemic crash analyses on a regular basis. So people don't have to do that deep dive on their own. There's also a couple manuals up there that are really important, and that's the Safety Investigation Procedures Manual, known as the Yellow Book, which details the process that if DOT feels the need to do a crash study, they will follow the procedures outlined in the Yellow Book. And those procedures are very similar to what I just went over in terms of the data analysis and investigation. There's also the Highway Safety Improvement Program Procedures and Techniques, the Red Book, that shows the type of countermeasures the DOT would consider if an issue of concern is identified. It goes through the countermeasures in detail, whether it be intersection improvements or road segment improvements. There's a wide variety of solutions included in the Red Book. This is what the Clear Crash Data Viewer looks like. It's really a query tool. It's very simple to use. After a couple, they have all the training seminars are listed on YouTube through the Crash Analysis Toolbox, but I just did a very quick analysis, 10-year history for the intersection closest to where we are of Cottick Hill Road and Lucas Ave. Found 15 crashes in a 10-year history, plus another 2 located adjacent to the center intersection. And each individual crash, you can then download the MV104 and look at the specific circumstances that led to that crash. We're not going to show you those right now because there could be sensitive information. It's another issue that we come across when people request MV104s. We need to redact personal information that are included on that: addresses, license plate numbers, witness telephone numbers, things of that nature. All need to be redacted before they're provided to the public in order to protect those witnesses' private information. But again, I want to state that any municipality, if you have a .gov email address, you can request access to the Clear system and conduct your own investigations, which might be useful for police departments or engineering departments in your jurisdiction. But we're willing to do those. That's the first place we go, is the Clear system. So there are also other more detailed analysis tools on the toolbox page that I don't think Chris and I are actually completely well versed in at this point, but a lot will allow us to do desktop network screening going forward that we look forward to learning more about and getting more training on. So looking forward in 2026 at UCTC, as I mentioned, we're awaiting the announcement for the Safe Streets for All planning grant. And the website for the FHWA Safe Streets for All is listed there. I would hope we did receive an inquiry from Federal Highway regarding the status of some details within our application. Just 4 weeks ago, that inquiry came in, so they are clearly reviewing it. And it's gotten at least to that level of review. So that I think is encouraging. Regardless of whether we get this grant, we are prepared to just move forward with our own planning funds in 2026 and move forward with a scope of work. Chris, you've had an opportunity to look at other Safe Streets for All projects, the sort of the first gen of projects that have been completed in New York State. Is there anything you want to mention there?
Right now I've focused on 3 of them, one for Dutchess County Transportation Council, one up in Albany, the Capital Region folks, and then Ithaca Tompkins all have documents out there, projects either completed or close to completion. The Capital Region in particular went with a full Vision Zero initiative for their whole region as part of their region-wide safety plan. But I'm still in the process of reviewing these and plan to set up meetings with the folks involved in all 3 to get what, like Brian said, some scope of work information, what worked well, what didn't work well, if there was any issues, that sort of a thing, what to focus on. But all those documents are out there and they're all pretty comprehensive so far. So I think we're in a good place to move forward. Like you said, they're the first gen now that they're finishing, since SS Fair is this is the 3rd year, I think.
Right. It's also one of the first years now that we have the clear system the clear system is new. It replaced the Alice system. And I think there were some bugs that they had to work out at central office. I know Dutchess County had some moans and groans because they were using the clear system with their consultant to do their analysis. So I'm really hoping that there's some good lessons learned from our partners that we can consider when we move forward with our work as well.
Just wanted to, like, for all three of those that I mentioned, just they have specific documents out there about what their data collection was like in particular, and it seems that we will probably have an easier task moving forward than they did when they started this. In particular, like you was mentioning for the clear dashboard itself, it's really easy to use and pretty comprehensive.
And then if you're not interested in getting login credentials and doing safety analyses through the clear system, I do want to point out, we do have the Ulster County Fatal and Serious Injury Dashboard. That this is a link that we can provide you. It's available through the Ulster County Traffic Safety Board right now. And it's an online dashboard that allows you to look at, 6 years of history, crash history?
Right now, I believe it goes back before COVID. I think I pulled in from 2017,
So
a little
that's,
bit more.
that's great. So we have 6 to 8 years of crash history that shows serious injury and fatal crashes that occurred on Ulster County roadways by location. Most of the detail has been scrubbed, so you're not getting names of people who are in crashes, but the date, location, and the severity are included as well. And then there are interesting analyses, analytical tools that can be used as well through that Esri product.
The dashboard itself also has icons showing if it was a pedestrian, cyclist, or motor vehicle incident in particular. The data right now is updated through the end of 2024. I'm working on the rest of 2025. Right? There's a limitation which you can download at any given time, so I want to do it quarterly to keep it updated. And if anybody happens to want to go on to our website and look at it and has suggestions or other additional things you'd like to see, we do have access to more of the data, but this is a little bit chopped down, just like Brian said, to remove some of the personally identifiable information, that sort of thing. But if there are things you would like to see, reach out. So because it is a work in progress. My predecessor set it up. It's fantastic and easy to use. And but yeah, we could have any changes, just let me know.
So that's my brief safety overview. Like I said, there are a lot of different areas that we could go into deeper dives with. I didn't even touch on the roadway departure program that New York State DOT is working on right now. We meet at least monthly with a statewide working group, the safety working group, that includes Andrew Sattinger at the statewide New York State DOT safety department or division. And we get a lot of useful information on safety analysis. It's really, if you're interested in this stuff, the online documents and reports are pretty fascinating. The level of effort that goes into these analyses done by the professionals at New York State DOT and elsewhere is really, really impressive. So we look forward to bringing more information on highway safety to you in the future.
I do want to mention, and I think it's pretty important, is one of the things that they're focused on in the freight study has been heavy truck crashes. And there's some pretty interesting data coming out in terms of where heavy truck crashes occur in Ulster County, Route 28 being one of them. There's other areas as well, which you don't think of normally as a place where heavy truck crashes would occur. But that's available on the website as well. It's good to take a look at that, some good mapping information in there on that. And that was a unique kind of take on some of that freight study work that was done between the 3 MPOs in the region.
I think that's under the TMA portion of our website, so it is slightly external to us, but it's not under the GIS resources page we have specifically. So
where is it exactly?
You have to go to the TMA section, click on the TMA section, that brings you to the TMA website, and then there's the freight section of that part of the website. It's not under our resources tab.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything else, Brian?
No.
Any questions or comments from people in the room? Or online?
it's Mary Beth. Can you share this PowerPoint that I can share with the other towns I represent as well as my highway department?
Yep, certainly. And two of the main links are also in the agenda as well, Mary Beth. I'll be happy to share the PowerPoint.
Thank you.
Okay,
Mhm.
anyone else?
And one other question, anyone can access that fatal and serious injury dashboard from the UCTC
Yes.
website?
Yeah, that is open to the public. That's correct.
Yes.
And then the CLEAR website, you need a .gov, and how do you get there?
If you go to the New York State DOT Crash Analysis Toolbox, that's a webpage at DOT. There
Okay.
is a form, an online form that individuals can fill out. And you just give a very brief attestation regarding a user agreement, and then you'll receive your credentials.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
They're
You're welcome.
pretty quick when I asked for my credentials a couple months ago. It was a good day or two lag max, so should be up and
Good.
running. And as Brian mentioned, the YouTube videos on there are very, very helpful about how to use it.
Great. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mary Beth. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none. Item number 6, other old business.
Sure, we got quite a few items here. We'll try to run through.
Chris, why don't you do traffic counts?
Sure, just a brief update on the traffic counts. They were completed back in September, which I believe I mentioned last time, but no incidents, for instance, with the cameras and anybody being upset with those, so that's always good. Right now, our consultant is packaging up the data and will send to us. We'll do our QA QC and then upload to the state. And that should be done this week or next week.
In the year-end obligation report.
And the year-end obligation report too, which we don't have posted just yet. Working on it right now. I just have some preliminary numbers. Do we want to go through those briefly?
I think it would be helpful, yeah.
Okay. So just for the past year, there was $21.4 million in obligated projects from the federal highways for us for local, state, bridge, trail project phases in Ulster County. Of that, 19.6 was federal aid obligated for state projects. The remaining 1.1 was obligated for local highway, bridge, and enhancement projects, and the remainder was transit for $756,735. Specifically, that was actually for the CMRR railroad, I want to say for crossing gates. But unfortunately, this didn't print out correctly for me today, so that was hard to look at. But that one was their one transit project that I know of. We should be posting this at some point in the next couple of months on our website, under the tip portion of our website. Yeah, I think that's actually all we have for that right now. Given
Did
I
you
don't have
work
the
with
table.
Nicole in our office?
Yes, you've been very helpful answering
Oh,
questions.
so good, good.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions on those? Long-range transportation plan, where are we at on it?
The long-range transportation plan, of course, has been approved, but our consultants right now are working on a stylized version of the LRTP, which makes it a little prettier to review, a little easier on the eyes. I just reviewed the final draft of that yesterday and provided my final comments.
We have a
So
website coming, right?
that, yes, I'll get to that. And so the document first needs to be finalized by Transpo. And then they will create a fully accessible, ADA accessible version. Once we have that final stylized version, then our other consultant who assisted us with public outreach, IMEG, will take that content and begin to turn it into an interactive website. It's essentially going to work as an online executive summary of the LRTP. So all the major figures and maps with brief explanations will be available for review in sort of a story map fly through method.
Thank you, Brian.
And both of those the document itself should be completed within a matter of days. And then the website is scheduled for completion by the end of the year.
And the 2026 Unified Planning Work Program, it's that time of year, folks, to call for projects.
Right, we'll be issuing a call for projects in another week or two for UPWP projects. I do want to note, we'll be doing safety work and we'll be probably programming an active transportation plan countywide. So if you're interested in submitting an active transportation plan for your municipality, you may want to just hold off because I think we'll be able to accomplish that work for you. Which I think is, long overdue. But otherwise, the call for planning projects is pretty straightforward. It's not intended to be a heavy lift. You don't need a grant writer to submit a project proposal for your municipality. If you have a transportation issue of concern that you feel a discrete planning project could address, please consider submitting a proposal to the UPWP. And the instructions are very straightforward. We'll have that out again within the next couple of weeks. And if you have questions, please contact me.
Thank you, Brian. See and be seen.
Yes, working in cooperation with the Ulster County Executive's Office, the Ulster County Traffic Safety Board, we did another purchase of reflective vests, which I have some here as an example. You're welcome to take some with you if you want to distribute them. We purchased 350 vests last year, and they went within one day at every site. They were gone. So we had money within the Ulster County Traffic Safety Board budget this year that we utilized to purchase 1,000 vests for distribution. The locations identified include New Paltz Village Hall, Kingston DMV, Town of Shawangum Town Hall, Town of Highland, Town of Shandaken Library, I believe, Town of Saugerties Town Hall, Marbletown just down the hall, Allenville Trudy Farber Center, Ulster Library, and Ulster County Development Court as well. So you can go to any of those locations and grab a vest for you or a friend.
And we still have a few at the planning department. Wow.
Yes, well, the ones at the planning department are designated actually for Ulster County Police agencies. I'll be attending the Police Chiefs Association meeting next week and providing the remaining vests to officers. The idea being that we would like every patrol officer to have a few vests on within their car. So if they do see someone in a dangerous situation after dark, walking on the highway, they can pull over and offer them a vest. And, you know, we've seen that on plenty of occasions, and it can be frightening. So it is something that we can offer. And there's a nice PSA that we offer. Of course, it's Halloween this Friday, and set back your clocks. It's daylight savings on Saturday night. So that's why we always try to coordinate these efforts at this time.
Very good.
Thank you, Brian.
In the future, I know we hand out these tchotchkes. They're a disc light about this big that you clip on. And when we put them out, they're gone in literally in minutes. And they work very well. I mean, at a distance, you can see that flashing light. You might consider doing that next year as maybe a supplemental to this.
Certainly.
Because you can see them at a distance, and even if the headlights aren't catching that vest, you know there's something up here.
But yeah, we'll consider that. There are other, you know, we considered snap bracelets,
That's what I think I saw someone.
ankle bands.
That was great.
Yeah.
Bicyclists like the ankle bands to tie your pant leg away from the chain. And we do actually have a supply of lights as well. So we'll continue to consider. We also considered bandanas for dogs or leashes for dogs. We thought we better focus on people this year rather than animals. Although, you know, people might be reluctant to wear a vest themselves, but they'll put something on a leash or on their animal, which
Something that does front and back is huge, though, you know, ankles, wrists, really.
And I know that UCAT has been purchasing shopping bags for their riders that have reflective bands on them as well.
That's a good.
Reunite folks, so
That's a great.
So we'll continue to utilize them as long as there's demand. We'll try to provide baseline supply.
And we did mention the UCAT meeting for the
Yes.
route optimization plan, November 6th.
Yep, be on the
Any
lookout
information?
for more. We'll be doing more email bulletins. There'll be one coming from UCTC in about 30 minutes. You should get it if
Yeah.
our scheduling goes right.
And other project updates, you want to talk about Route 9W? Albany Avenue.
Yeah, we met with the mayor of Kingston, town supervisor, New York State DOT representatives to discuss our scope of work for doing not 9W, but Albany and Ulster Ave corridor management plan. We feel we have really good guidance and can move forward on that work. So hopefully we'll be issuing an RFP within the next several weeks.
Did you come up yet with an idea on what you're gonna call it to make it so it's not just another roadway?
Stay in lane.
Right, right.
No, that's
Wording in the
very
paperwork, but I-
motor.
Well, typically what we've done in the past is, since we're issuing an RFP for engineering consultant firms, we call it just the broad term.
Yeah.
Corridor management plan. But once we get a qualified consultant under contract, one of the first things we ask in the kickoff meeting is, can we come up with a catchier title for this project?
And not just catchy, but something that makes folks think it's beyond just moving cars.
Right.
Yeah.
That's,
Absolutely.
active transportation, whatever the.
I wrote
term is.
holistic, actually, that's the wording I came up with after our meeting last
Yeah.
week, but that's not, I wanted to avoid complete streets.
Well, I know everyone's avoiding that right now, but I'm not sure that, I mean,
It does, yeah,
I don't know.
it was a
So, but
suggestion.
again, you have time, but yeah, I'm glad you're doing that.
So like building a better Broadway became that Broadway complete street study. We did
Yeah.
wayfinding in Rosendale, we called it Finding Rosendale.
Nice.
There's things like that we can do. And what was the 9W study out in the town of Ulster was
Mobility plan.
That was.
mobility plan,
Yeah.
you know.
But this is a different context, so it'd be nice if
This is like the vote stickers,
Mhm.
yeah, you can do that. Anything else, Brian?
She
We're not-
doesn't have a clue.
Yeah, I know, but that's good.
We're not doing a logo contest,
I know,
all right?
logo contest.
Sorry.
I like the vote stickers though.
I do.
New York
What's that?
City did them,
Yeah.
up in Albany when I voted last time, they had a nice one
Yeah,
too.
you do vote stickers.
Yeah, we had,
Yeah.
I forget how many they said,
I didn't-
376 submissions or whatever.
Yeah.
And they came up with, it's kind of cool. I mean, it's, the Statue of Liberty and the head and portion is a slice of pizza.
I mean, that's what I think of when I think of New York.
Hey, yeah.
There you go. All right, enough of that. Any other project updates? Any sponsor updates from council members? Any other business before the council?
The UCTC Policy Committee is scheduled to meet on November 25th. We only have one resolution, it is Thanksgiving week,
Mhm.
so
Thanksgiving.
it's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving,
Oh,
so we
okay.
may want to consider just doing that a fully remote meeting, but we'll let you know.
Okay,
Thank you.
no more business, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone showed me this like my first